Just before we kick this episode off, we have 2 live shows coming up, Rob.
Yes, we're doing July 3rd in Denver at the Cervantes Masterpiece Ballroom. Tickets are on sale for that already.
And your beautiful city, Chicago, on July 10th.
At Park West.
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
So go to our website, flightlessbirdpod.com.
All the details there. Grab tickets. Very excited to see you soon.
Also, our show notes. We're going to have links in our show notes, so you can go there.
All right, on with the episode.
Hi, David.
Hi, Hayden. How are you?
Well, besides both my children being sick and you catfishing me with another podcast call, pretty good.
What's wrong with your kids?
They appear to have some sort of cold. They've had fevers. They are terrorizing us as human beings. They have become nightmares.
I'm sorry, man. That sounds hard. As someone that doesn't have kids, I feel for you.
You don't know. You don't understand. You could never understand. It's the years. That's what's impossible to grasp. You can grasp what pain might feel like in the moment. You can think, oh, it would hurt to have my nails pierced with a metal rod. You can't get your mind around pain that's at a low level that lasts for anywhere up to 25 years. It's just impossible for a human being to grasp. It's not even your fault.
Well, this kind of ties in to the topic of today's Flightless Bird quite well, because we're talking about sperm donation in America.
Mm-hmm.
And sperm donation obviously generates children.
Yep, that's the general concept that I understand it to be, yeah.
I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about sperm donation. I've never donated sperm, but in America it's kind of the Wild West. There's no big regulations or anything like that. Do you have any thoughts on donating your little swimmers?
Look, I'm in favor of people giving their sperm out to the needy. If you need sperm, then that's all good. You should be able to access it. It's what you say, right? If it's the Wild West, that really feels like it opens it up to problems, because from my work with you and from knowing you and just generally all my dealings with you, I guess, like, there are just a lot of perverts out there. There's just perverts and like freaks, weirdos that will take advantage of a sperm donation system to, I don't know, fulfill their weird sperm donation desires if they've got a sperm donation fetish. And I just think it's probably better if there are some sort of checks and balances, or that people generally know the person whose sperm they're taking on board. I don't know. That's my feeling. Like, it's not something I've considered a lot, obviously.
No, and I like this. And just to be clear, when you talk about your dealings with me, you're not talking about me being the pervert, but more the kind of stories that I look into.
No, I'm saying like all of it. There's a reason why you're looking into these stories, right?
Wow. You think it's kind of a way of me subtly exploring my own disgusting behavior?
What's the word for it? Projection, I think, is the word for it.
Wow. You think all of my work, including Flightless Bird, is projection?
Oh, wow. It's so weird that people are tickling other people in a basement. Better spend 5 years of my life looking into that. I'm not weird. Nothing wrong with me. It's just that I'm just devoting my life to the tickles.
We're firing Hayden from this segment. I'm David Farrier, a New Zealander accidentally marooned in America, and I want to figure out what makes this country tick. Now, since I've been in America, I've been thinking a lot about sperm donation. Not a lot, but I've always found it fascinating by how it seems to be the Wild West here. There are barely any regulations about who can give sperm and how many children can be created from each batch. There are rough guidelines that say each donor can have a maximum of 25 kids per 850,000 square miles, I guess to stop any accidental inbreeding between half-siblings, but it's not enforced by law. I've heard stories that some donors have created well over 100 children, which seems like a lot of kids. So when I got an email from someone who'd recently discovered they were the product of some donated sperm and that they'd tracked down their biological father, I figured they'd be worth talking to. So get ready to come in a cup, because this is the sperm donation episode.
Flightless, flightless, flightless bird touchdown in America. I'm a flightless bird touchdown in America.
I said earlier, come in a cup. I don't know if you do come in a cup when you donate sperm, but that's sort of what I imagined. What do you do?
I've never donated sperm, but
I never have either.
I think that's what you do. A little plastic cup.
Yeah, a
with
little
the
plastic
lid.
cup.
It's what they do in the movies.
So, cut a long story short, this episode, I meet a woman who found out later in life her father wasn't her biological father. And it's quite a heartwarming story. But I think when I first thought of sort of this as a topic, you do think of all the kind of freaky stories you hear about like maniac sperm donors and doctors swapping sperm and all that kind of thing. Is that you as well?
Yeah, doctors swapping sperm because they're super fertile, or the guy that has 150 kids in the neighborhood because he was donating sperm unregulated.
Our story is a little bit there, but in a very nice. Today's a nice episode.
Oh.
But we can talk about some of the freakier stories later.
Hopefully that doesn't turn people off.
Yeah, we came here for like freaky, horrific stories. This is going to be a nice one. Do you have any general thoughts about just the concept of donating sperm to allow someone, whether someone you know or a stranger, to have kids? Like, does that sort of elicit any sort of emotion?
I'm all for it. I think if people need help with fertility is a tricky thing, and if people need help,
give them help.
I
completely agree.
Yeah.
What do you think about the idea of whether, hypothetical situation, you donate sperm, should that child know that they have that their parent isn't their biological parent, that they are a sperm donor, or do you keep it a secret? Is it like Santa? Do you keep it a secret, or do you tell them?
Well, I think that's where it gets tricky. It depends.
Mm-hmm.
It's really up to the parents. I do think if you're not telling your child that they're not biologically yours and they find out later, there's maybe some trauma and trust issues that come out of that. Whereas if you normalize that to a kid younger, like that's all they know.
Because I always feel like, and I'm talking out my ass because I don't have children, but I feel like if I had a kid, say my sperm are useless. I don't know whether they are or not. I haven't got them tested. Say they're useless. To have a child, I have to like get someone else's sperm. I just feel, and I just like, as soon as my kid is kind of like old enough to kind of conceptualize what's going on, I'd just be like, my sperm are useless. I got another guy to give them. I'm your dad because I'm raising you, but your DNA is from Frank.
What's sperm, daddy?
Oh God, I'm having to have the talk.
Yeah, I mean, so I get where it gets tricky. We speak very frankly to the boys and almost talk to them at times like they're adults.
You don't treat them like dummies.
Yeah, but I do get that it is a can of worms, and it's like the whole religion thing is sometimes easier just to just follow these rules, and that's why you need to be good.
Yeah, we're not getting into the like all the fine, crazy, ethical and moral arguments that we could be having right now. Just do what Jesus says.
Yeah, I also feel like we could tell Calvin at this age that like babies come from sperm and eggs.
Yeah.
Sperm comes from dad, egg comes from mom, and like that creates a kid. And if my sperm didn't work and couldn't have a child, we'd probably tell him at this point. I don't know if Vincent, though,
because what age is
enough.
Calvin?
8.
Yeah, 8. I feel like in my brain I'm like 10. When they're 10, they can know. It's like Frank is your biological dad, not David.
I mean, I don't think it changes it doesn't change the bond or the like parental nature of being a dad to the child. Like the child doesn't know anything.
No, you're the one they love. Like you're the one that's raised them.
Yeah.
And I feel like I feel it's more tricky later on when you're you have a fully formed identity, you're, in your mid-30s.
Yeah. And they're like, hey, I'm not your dad, actually.
Yeah, and also surely it gets harder and harder to raise as a topic. Like, when do you bring that up? It's like, oh, we never told you this, but...
It turns into just like a trust thing at that point.
And also if they find out in some other way
Yeah.
as well, right? They're like, why didn't you tell me? Why did I have to find out this way? So when I was originally thinking about this, I was thinking of just going and donating some sperm, like to go through the whole process.
Mm-hmm.
But then the more I thought about it, the more I realized I don't
You don't want a little David right now?
I don't want to procreate. And I was sort of thinking about this, like, why is this? I should say, I don't want to procreate with people I don't know. And I guess my thinking, and I hadn't really thought this through, is that I don't want to be responsible for creating a life if I don't know how that life is going to be raised. I would worry that in this hypothetical world, someone gets my sperm who just ends up being a terrible parent. I go to the worst case scenario. And even though I don't know that's happened, just the idea
You're
that it
complicit
could,
because you helped bring this child into
Well,
the
yeah.
world that is then.
and I've just done it for something to talk about on a stupid podcast. Do you know what I mean? Like, that didn't seem like worth doing as content.
Yeah, I've been asked that question too of like, would I donate my sperm? Not someone hasn't asked me to do it, but this hypothetical has come up.
Totally.
I think I could distance myself to not feel like I need to be a father if someone's like, we need a kid, a couple can't conceive, and they want to have a child.
Yeah, I think that makes it different to me as well. If I know the person, I feel like I need to have some sort of connection and I can see the person that needs it and I can help.
It just, though, also seems like a fine line of being involved to some degree and like being adjacent to this child when they're in high school and like fucking up.
Okay, so I'm going to move into hack podcast territory here with a scenario between two podcast hosts. Say your genitals get mauled in some sort of accident. You're mowing the lawn, they get sucked into the blades
Yeah.
somehow,
Okay.
and your genitals are gone.
Yeah.
You and Natalie have always planned to have a third child. Natalie is like, we need this kid now. Natalie looks at me. She sees an amazingly, genetically amazing specimen, a man, the perfect man. Your words, not mine. I know Natalie. I like you guys. I give Natalie my sperm in a cup. I don't know how the process works. You probably have to go through like an agency or something. How would you feel about a small child? And he sort of has some, sort of my face, some of my affectations, some little things come through. They're always pushing their glasses up their nose. How would you feel about that?
Well, I don't want a third kid, so if this hypothetical is
Look,
kind
you
of
got to
lost
play
on
along.
me.
You got to play along with it, you know?
I mean, if it was my kid, like if I'm raising this kid, I think I'm going to have those feelings whether they're biological or not. Like, I don't
Completely.
think my biological tie to my children is what makes me love them.
How do you feel when I come over to the house and I have the child and I'm sort of throwing in the air, sort of interacting? You're not sort of going,
I mean, maybe you're not invited over anymore.
Yeah, okay, so there we go.
I'm getting you deported. Get this guy out of here.
It's the end of Flightless Bird, is what you're saying. Okay, thanks for going through that.
Well, okay, let's turn it on you.
Hit me.
Same scenario.
Absolutely not.
You have a partner.
No, absolutely not. See, what have I just done to myself here? I feel like I want it to be a mystery sperm. I don't want to know who the donor is, as long as they've been vetted. And what do I mean by vetted? Not disease-ridden or something?
You want to check that cancer isn't in their
Yeah,
family.
I guess there's no disposition to cancer or something. I feel like I don't want to know who they are because I think it would weird me out. And if my kids started doing little Robisms and I'm hanging out with you all the time, I think I would find that unusual.
I would prefer that if we needed a donor to have a child and wanted another
Mystery.
child. I would prefer mystery, but that contradicts your previous opinion of wanting to donate.
No, if I'm giving, I want to know that morally I'm doing the right thing.
Mhm.
If I'm getting sperm, then it needs to be a stranger.
And you don't care about the stranger's morality.
No,
to
don't
know.
care. Because
Okay.
I just hope that like they're not a terrible person, and if they are, I hope it's not carried in the genes like too much, and that it's all nurture over nature.
Part of me would be, how much do you trust where you're getting
The system,
the system? Yeah.
and that's where it gets really fascinating in America. I'm going to get into telling this story in a second from the doc, but just very quickly, I did reach out to some sperm clinics to take part. Just none of them got back to me. I thought one of them might, but just deathly silent.
They had already blocked your number
Or you blocked
from
my
previous.
number. Already blocked my number. So if you are a sperm clinic or you have any great insight, please email us. It's kind of pricey in America. The cost of getting pregnant from using donor sperm can vary between $700 and $3,000. That's what I got from a sperm donation website. So like, it's not cheap.
Mhm.
And that reminded me of an incredible doc I saw called Sperm World. I think it's on FX, and it was about the world of women who and men who desperately wanted a child, but it was too expensive. And so there's this whole kind of underground network of people meeting in Walnut parking lots and meeting someone, and they go off and masturbate in a bathroom at Walmart, come out with the sperm, and then they rush back to the hotel and pop it in. And that's a whole other fascinating world of because it's what you can afford to do. And there's like a lot of desperate people out there in America who really want to conceive. They can't afford to pay $2,000 to a clinic. And so they're meeting people on Facebook groups and on Reddit and stuff, which is just a wild thought.
My sister was a surrogate for a family.
No way.
Yeah, she carried a baby.
Wow, that's fascinating. I mean, surrogacy is probably a whole other topic, because that to me is so giving and amazing. Because then, giving sperm, like one of the easiest things a guy can do.
Feels much less generous
Oh, surrogacy is incredible.
than the other.
Like, I'd love to
side of
quiz your
things.
sister about that sometime. That's amazing. Stay tuned for more Flightless Bird. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Support for Flightless Bird comes from Quince. Now, Father's Day gift giving is always pretty much the same story here in America. It seems to be socks, grill, tools, repeat. But you can do so much better, and that is where Quince comes in, because they make buying a thoughtful gift easy. Quince has all the pieces dads actually want to wear, like organic cotton silk polos, European linen beach shorts, and comfortable pants that work for everything from weekend hangouts to nice dinners. The best part about all this, everything with Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than what you'd find at similar brands. That's why I use them, and I'm not even a father. By working directly with top artisans and cutting out the middleman, Quince gives you the luxury pieces without the crazy markups. And they only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. Look, my personal recommendation at Quince, if you're shopping for your dad, they've got some really good tees, some really good sweaters, and they also have wonderful jeans. And hey, if they love swimming, they also have swimwear and so much more. So, for the dad who deserves better than basic, Quince has you covered. Go to quince.com/bird for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/bird to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/bird. Support for Flightless Bird comes from Aura Frames. Now, what do you get the man who already has everything or says that he doesn't need anything? Skip the ties and get your dad something he'll actually love, an Aura digital frame. And I'm speaking from experience, my dad loves his Aura frame. And this Father's Day, I'm going to update his existing Aura frame by sending through some fresh photos so he can see what I've been up to. Aura Frames was named the best digital photo frame by Wirecutter, and it's really easy to see why. There's unlimited storage, so you can add as many photos, videos, and funny, silly memes as you can find, if that's what your dad's into. And it's so simple to set up. You just plug in and share away. Yeah, so for the guy who swore he didn't need anything, let the Aura frame prove him completely wrong. And Aura has a great deal for Father's Day. For a limited time, listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $30 off on their best-selling Carver matte frame. That's what I got my dad. That's auraframes.com, promo code BIRD. Support our show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
I think fertility in general is a much larger topic that's worth us looking into.
Well, I feel like after doing this episode, we're going to hear from a lot of people and it will open up this whole other world. I almost feel like this is like a little primer.
Yeah.
And it all started out when a Flightless Bird listener, aka a birdie, emailed in. Late last year, I got an email from Sheena. After saying hello, she carried on. Have you ever looked into the sperm donation industry in America? It remains a largely unregulated multi-billion-dollar industry, and I can't imagine it will get more regulated under the current administration. Sheena didn't just have a passing interest in all this. She was the product of this industry. Literally. Her words, not mine. She wrote, I happen to be a product of that industry. I have 81 half-siblings from the same donor, and I've met over 30 of them so far. Here at Flightless Bird, this is the dream kind of email to get. Someone with a uniquely American outlook on a uniquely American thing. Someone with inside personal knowledge of that thing. In this case, about the country's unregulated sperm donation market. And as she put it in her email, I know it's not a strictly American thing, but I do think we do it very American-y. The commercialization of the creation of life is a fascinating and crazy thing. I tended to agree. And so, of course, I had to talk to her.
So my name is Sheena Holland-Dolan. I'm 27, and I'm in Cleveland, Ohio.
What's Cleveland, Ohio like? I've never been to Cleveland, Ohio before. What's it like? What's the vibe in that town?
So Cleveland, it gets kind of a bad rap sometimes. We are sometimes called the mistake by the lake. So we're bordering Lake Erie, which is not even one of the fun lakes, really. Like Lake Michigan and Huron are like really beautiful, but Erie is just kind of a little gross. But we do have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
She tells me she used to work at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and that there's a good music scene in Cleveland. But let's not get off topic. We're here to talk sperm. American sperm.
America, I think, has commercialized the creation of life in a way that no other country quite has, because a lot of other countries have much stricter regulations on how many kids one guy can have. We have no regulation at the federal level here.
I'm looking at the website for a sperm donation place in the US, and she's right. In the US, there are no laws regarding the number of families a sperm donor can help, the site announces. You do not have any legal obligation towards any children born from your donations. All rights and responsibilities are waived at the point of donation. What it's basically saying is you just jizz, get paid, and carry on footloose and fancy-free. But when it comes to the children created thanks to that sperm, well, things can get weird.
So I was a sperm donor conceived child. I grew up an only child to a mom and dad. Dad, I thought, was my biological father until I was 20 years old. I found out that that is not the case. My mom finally told me that he was not my biological father, which came as quite a shock and required a bit of therapy afterwards.
I feel like you always hear stories of people finding out later in life that their dad isn't their biological dad. When I hear about it, I always wonder, why did the parents wait to tell their kid? Well, Sheena had told me nothing was off limits here, so we went there, into her mother's thought process.
My dad, non-biological, became severely disabled when I was 12 due to a stroke, and so she became his full-time caretaker. And I think that really was like an overload on her mental capacity for stress, and informing your child that their dad, who they think is their dad, is not biologically related to them is a huge stressor. So I think it was just one of those things where she didn't know how to bring it up. And that went on for 2 decades.
That was until Sheena's mum sort of clunkily told her, trying to do the right thing by letting her daughter know she was at no genetic risk of getting a stroke. That just because her father had had a stroke, that didn't mean Sheena would.
To me, it was a little bit out of the blue. She had been trying to figure out how to tell me, and then just kind of went, well, here it is one day, because she was trying to encourage me that strokes and issues that he had were not a biological genetic link. She was trying to reassure me if I was concerned about that, basically. But for me, it was very out of the blue.
How did that shift your perception of who you were in the world? Or was it more just an issue of trust between you and your parents?
So I remember the day that I found out very vividly. 20 is already a rough age, figuring out like who you are and where you belong in the world. You're not 21 yet, so like you're just on the cusp of being a real person. And I remember very vividly going up to my bathroom mirror, staring at myself, and having this very dramatic moment of like, who am I? Who am I now? I feel like a whole chunk of understanding had been stripped away from me. In a way, it didn't change my day-to-day at all, but it did change everything because I needed to recalibrate what my whole life meant.
And part of that recalibration involved doing some detective work. She set out to find her biological dad.
So I'm naturally like a person who can't live without all the information. My degree is actually in journalism for that reason. So I decided I was going to do a 23andMe to figure out what's my ethnicity, what half am I missing here, basically.
Sheena had started by asking her mum if she knew who the donor was. She didn't. She had a donor code number, but he was anonymous. Now, in New Zealand, donors must be available if their donor kids decide to reach out. It's part of the deal. There's a central register of offspring and donors, and once a kid is 18, they're allowed access. That's not the case in America. There's certainly no central tracking, and only 40% of donor births are reported.
That summer, I did a 23andMe, did the little spit in the cup, sent it out, and just was like, well, whatever happens, happens.
When the results came in, Sheena says she found out she was basically the whitest person alive. So she knew her biological dad was pretty white. Of course, once you're on 23andMe, you get to meet other people who are also doing their own detective work.
One day on the 23andMe, I got a message, and the message was from my great uncle on my donor side. And he said, hey, this might be weird, but I know who your family is, your donor. And I was like, are you sure? He goes, yeah. And he sent me this article from the Washington Post that was like, woman finds 40-something siblings. And it shows a picture of them like romping around in a field.
I pull the article up. I see siblings romping around in a field. The headline is from 2018, 44 siblings and counting.
And I was like, there's no way that's real. That's not true. And he goes, yeah, it is.
Her newly found great uncle connected her with the mum of a couple of other alleged half-siblings. And then they connected her with another half-sister, Kiani, whose name I recognized from the Washington Post piece. And Kiani told Sheena she actually had quite a few half-siblings, like more than 10, more than 20, more than 30. Wait, how did that feel, that moment of going, oh my goodness, I thought I was an only child, but I've got quite a few siblings?
Yeah, it was shocking. My world was rocked by that. So I, at the time, was the 47th sibling found. I was in college at the time, was like walking around campus contemplating, what does this mean? Going from being an only child to having 47 other yous rocked my world a little bit.
This whole time, she found herself wondering what her biological dad was like, his personality, his demeanor, his everything.
I had no idea what he looked like, nothing really to go off of at all.
The sperm clinic had told her mother that the donor was apparently very creative and that he was a writer.
Which is true, and that he looked like Tom Cruise, which is not true.
How does she know he doesn't look like Tom Cruise? Well, her and her half-sister Kiane went to meet him, to meet Nate. Stay tuned for more Flightless Bird. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. This is an ad by BetterHelp. Now, I'm not going to be the first one telling you this, but when it comes to men, there is a real stigma around mental health. That was the case in New Zealand, certainly the case in America. And increasingly, men are understanding that strength comes from maintaining a healthy mind. Around 6 million men in the US suffer from depression every year, and it's often undiagnosed. But the fact is, it's okay to struggle. Real strength comes from opening up about what you're carrying and doing something about it so you can be your best for yourself and everyone that's in your life. If you're a guy and you're feeling the weight of the world, talk to someone. It's that simple. Anyone, a friend, a loved one, or a therapist. I've done therapy in the past and I've found it incredibly helpful. Once you find the therapist that's right for you, they can really make you see things differently and you can adjust the way you think about the world and yourself, and it can be a really big help. With over 35,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served around 5 million people globally. It has an App Store rating of 4.9 out of 5 based on 1.7 million client reviews. That's a lot of reviews. It's convenient as well. You can join a session with a therapist at the click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. Plus, you can switch therapists at any time. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of experience. Talk it out with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/bird. That's betterhelp.com/bird. Support for Flightless Bird comes from Spot and Tango. Now, you'll be aware of this already if you listen to the show, but my wonderful co-host Rob has a wonderful dog. And Rob has recently switched to feeding his dog Spot and Tango's Unkibble. It's been a total upgrade for the little muncher, and they eat it up like it's their favorite thing in the entire world. Spot and Tango's Unkibble is everything that regular kibble isn't, made with real human-grade ingredients and personalized to what your dog actually needs. It's dry food you can feel good about, and it's pantry-friendly as well. And yeah, Rob's dog can totally taste the difference with Spot and Tango's Unkibble. It's made with 100% whole, fresh ingredients like real USDA meats, fruits, and veggies. That's vegetables. But it's 40% less expensive than frozen food. I went over and gave Huxley a little scratch the other day, and he is looking great. His fur is glowing. Oh, the other thing, there's also no more guessing about how much to feed your dog either. Spot and Tango creates a custom plan based on your dog's age, weight, breed, and their activity level. Rob's dog, very lazy. And they include a pre-measured scoop, so you get it right every time. Upgrade your pet's bowl with Spot and Tango Unkibble. For a limited time, go to spotandtango.com/bird and use code BIRD to get 50% off your first order. That's spotandtango.com/bird. Code BIRD to get 50% off your first order. spotandtango.com/bird. Code BIRD.
I mean, it's interesting, the ones that I have met, it's kind of like looking into an altered universe, how they've come up with their lives and where they've gone and what they're doing and reflections of their parents and their locations. Like, what if that was me growing up in New Zealand or Britain or Canada or the Midwest? So it's almost like seeing reflections of yourself from different universes.
Nate was in college at the time, stumbling across a little placard on campus announcing a need for sperm donors. He talked to a recruiter who said that in return for his sperm, they'd give him cash. Getting paid to masturbate? Who wouldn't?
I think it was like 40 or 50 bucks per acceptable sample. And you could only go maybe once or twice a week. And sometimes if your sample wasn't acceptable, they wouldn't pay you.
You don't get paid to donate sperm in New Zealand, but in America, you do. A website I looked at said that today, donors like Nate can earn up to $720 a month if they have good, healthy sperm.
I'm 18 years old, so I'm obviously thinking, the world's at my feet here. I don't know what I'm going to be 20 or 30 years from now. And they sat down and obviously they talked about it. They said, well, this will be helping families and we'll also be using it. They kind of led me to believe also they'll be using it for other types of scientific cell regeneration or some kind of stem cell thing.
I'm curious if you thought much about the future and whether, oh, hey, what would this look like if one of these children that had been created with my genetic material reached out to me?
Yeah, like when I was 18, 19, I definitely was thinking the future a little bit. And obviously I was into like philosophy and science and nature versus nurture. So I thought it was a fascinating idea that I might meet one of my offspring one day. And so I signed it. And obviously, at that age, the future's wide open and bright and anything can happen. So definitely open to pretty much everything.
Well, one day that happened. Sheena's half-sister Kiani reached out to him.
It had been like 20 years or 18 years. So yeah, I pretty much kind of forgot about it, honestly. Yeah, I've lived so many other lives since then. So many different adventures and all kind of things I'd gone through in my own personal life. Like, oh yeah, I did that. And here it comes back around.
Nate had no idea how many kids had been created from his sperm. But as Kiani found more and more half-siblings, well, the number just kept going up. It was certainly more than Nate had ever imagined, and certainly more than the place he had donated had indicated.
Well, I mean, they weren't quite honest with me. I mean, they told me that I would have 20 family units, then I would be retired. Obviously, that wasn't true. There's no rules here. It's kind of the Wild West. So it is more like about money, I guess, for them. I could still be having kids when I'm dead forever. I think about the number, then it's overwhelming for sure. Yeah, I don't have any mentors, nobody doing this ahead of me that I can ask questions to. It's kind of a figure it out as you go kind of thing. And my policy has been, if any of them want to come and approach me, I will meet them. I'm not going to reach out to them, but if they want to reach out to me, I'll make myself available. You know, some of them don't want to meet me, and that's fine. But yeah, it's an open door.
Sheena still remembers meeting Nate like it was yesterday. I get the feeling it's because it was significant to her, obviously, but also just because it was so weird.
He was freaked out too. Not to speak for him, but I think he would agree that it was certainly shocking to him as well.
What was that meeting like? Like, where did you meet? Do you kind of meet at a local Denny's, or how does that work?
4 siblings went to do this cabin trip in the backwoods of Georgia, where his family owned this really cute cabin. So we're in the backwoods of Georgia with this dude that I've never met before. There's no cell service. And I'm like, well, I guess if I die, I die. Like, this is just what's happening. But it was actually really, really cool. And so we hung out for that whole weekend. We got to go like river rafting. It was really amazing. And meeting him helped me understand a lot of things. I'm like, my music taste is your fault.
She says they both really like folk music and some rock, and in her words, sort of niche hipster type of things.
To date, as of now, I've met 33 of them out of 85. I think when I emailed you, I said 82. We found 3 more since the initial email that I sent to you.
This is funny now because I'm realizing how little I understand about this. Is it an unusual situation for one donor to have so many kids?
It's not as unique as maybe it should be in America. There are cases of people who have had over 150 siblings. So we're nowhere near like the biggest group.
You're not too far behind.
He didn't like go in an excessive amount of times to donate, to my understanding, but there was some families who wanted a second child by the same donor, and then the sperm bank opened him up again as a new donor, and that's why we have a crop of older kids, and then we have a crop of younger kids. I'm 27. As far as we know, I am the 3rd oldest out of all of them, and then they range down to 5 or 6 years old, and they're all over the world, which is crazy.
Now is probably a good time to note that Nate's musings earlier about seeing reflections of himself and kids in Britain and Canada and New Zealand wasn't just riffing on nothing. He has kids all over the place.
So we have some that are in New Zealand currently. I think we have 2. I think they were born in England, but they moved to New Zealand. A bunch in Canada. We have some in Australia as well. And then we're spread out over North America at this point.
And you have the biggest, coolest chat thread of all time?
Basically, yeah. So we do have like a private Facebook group for all the siblings. And then we have a big group chat with a bunch of the half-sisters in it. So yeah, and we try to do yearly meetups of different sizes, and whoever can come can come.
You've met all these new people now. What's your main takeaway from this whole experience and having this knowledge?
Watching the impact of nature versus nurture is really fascinating. All these people that are my half siblings I've never met in my life, and a lot of us have similarities, temperament, humor. A whole bunch of them got really nice dimples that I got cheated out of. I didn't get the dimples, but a ton of them got those. Even our mannerisms are the same. I remember one time at a sibling group, I was standing next to one of my sisters, and my partner noted this, and he said that we both cocked our head the same way and put our hand on our hips like the exact same way. It was just like a weird mirror effect. So there are little things like that.
I wanted to be a father. I think I would have been an amazing dad. And for whatever reason, that didn't work out. So now I'm seeing them. I didn't raise them, I wasn't part of their childhood, but now I guess I can be part of their adulthood if they choose to meet me. To be honest, meeting them, the strange part for me, I'm looking at them, looking at me, wondering what they're thinking. What are their expectations of me? Am I everything they expected me to be? You know, like, because I could be more, I could be less. I might be a pleasant surprise, or it could be disappointment. But sometimes it might be better even just to have your imagination be the thing that represents your father.
Some of your kids are going to have parents that they love. Others will be in a different situation. So you'll be so many different things to so many different kids.
Yeah, for sure. And it's definitely made me look at myself a bit deeper. Right? Who am I? Like, what am I doing with my life? Am I cool? I don't know.
Look, I haven't talked to all his kids. That would be a full-time job. But I've talked to one of them. And she seems to think her biological dad is pretty cool. And he thinks the same about her.
I think Sheena's great. She's a writer, and I really appreciate that. I'm a bit of a writer myself, so I feel like that's part of kind of who I am too. And I'd love to, hear some of what she writes, and if I can help out with ideas or concepts, or I feel like if there's ways that I can help out, or how can I give my advice and all my worldly travels and things I've experienced, is it worth anything to them if they ask for it? So, trying to figure out if I'm, a source of inspiration to them in a way, or guidance. Because I've not had that. I didn't get married, didn't have any kids of my own. All of a sudden, I have more kids than I ever thought I would have. So, just a different way of looking at the world now. I come from a pretty large family, and I have 2 sisters and a brother, and they've all got kids. So I'm the crazy uncle. And my dad, he's a big bear of a guy. And, when I'm talking to him about this, or when I told him about this, he said, well, I don't know what it all means, Nate. I don't really know what you're talking about. But if somebody comes to my door and says they're my grandchild, I'm going to let them in. And I thought that's beautiful, man. That's awesome.
Being connected to so many of these really fascinating and interesting individuals has been very cool. And I've gotten to go to places I would never have gone otherwise, take trips I wouldn't have taken otherwise. And so I've been able to meet 33 of them at this point. It's been really fascinating. We tend to have an instant connection whenever we meet each other. It's not as awkward as you might think. We are like, yeah, we're just here. We're all in this weird thing together. And I think that's pretty cool.
So yeah, that was Sheena and Nate, who were originally, Sheena reached out to me and I interviewed her. And then I went to kind of put the story together, and it just felt like, not to be stereotypical, like half finished. I was like, I need Nate. And so she emailed him, and he took a little while to think about it, but he apparently listened to Focus on the Family. And look, I think he said, and I think I'm getting this right, he was in an early Focus on the Family, like, promotional video, like, as a bit actor. Anyway, so he listened to that episode, and he was like, yeah.
When he also said Tickled changed his life.
And Tickled changed my life and all that. Yeah, all of that. But no, and then he was like, yeah, I'll talk to you. And I think having both of them and seeing how they talked about each other was really neat.
Yeah, it's so different from what I feel like you normally hear.
Well, I think most of the stories, right, are like the freak stories.
It's crazy. Just, you didn't think that in 30 years, there's going to be this technology and this fad where you're going to uncover all these long lost siblings.
Completely. Yeah, I mean, he's a college kid seeing an ad and not picturing that everyone is going to be like finding each other on not just Facebook, but on a genetic matching site.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the other thing that I was thinking. The type of people that usually choose to donate sperm, stereotypically, I think it's like the college kid, someone that needs money, that's hard up for cash. Like, it's not Barack Obama and Matt Damon aren't going to the sperm bank. And
they might be. But no, I know what you mean. No, it is. It's like, I always picture students who need some cash going in and doing it.
So it's interesting too that that's the pool, and it's such a gamble then, it seems like, too, of like, all right, we'll see how this guy turns out.
Kind of, right? And it's also that thing is, it's amazing, this idea that they had his sperm up for a while, but then because the family came back, they basically unlocked the batch. So now there's this huge distance in years between these different half siblings. That's just such a trip.
Yeah, science is pretty fucking wild.
And also, I think something Sheena says is that the clinic at the time, and I think this attitude has probably changed a bit, but they told her mum, whatever you do, don't tell your kid. Like, keep it a secret. And I think that was kind of the old messaging that they used to have.
Yeah, well, I'm like mental health was barely a
Even on a blip on the radar.
I do find it interesting too, the expectation on a sperm donor father. He had every right to just be like, no, I don't want this relationship and like leave me alone.
Yeah, because I imagine as someone who was donating sperm back when he was 17, he wasn't imagining I'm going to meet 33 kids who I've helped father. But like later in life, he's obviously made the decision if they want to get in touch with me, I'm happy to hang with them. And that's like a big thing to do. That's a lot of coffees.
Yeah.
That's a lot of river rafting trips,
of,
at the cabin.
Yeah, I mean, and it's really cool that she was an only child and then found this whole new community of siblings.
The group chat they have and stuff will be
Yeah.
friggin' wild. Nate photographed, I think Kiani, her half sister, photographed her wedding. There's cool stuff like that. That's pretty, and he's a photographer. That's kind of amazing, that kind of stuff.
How would you feel if Pam calls you up right now and says, you've got, not that you're not your dad's.
Okay, I like that scenario too. I'm curious.
I know.
Yeah, but what, you have 30 other siblings?
Yeah, you have 30 other kangaroos hopping around New Zealand.
It's more Australia, but yeah, I'm fine with it.
What does that do to you mentally, though? Like, are you on the hunt to go meet all 30, or are you just like, eh?
Not really. No, I don't. To be honest, I don't. It's like a novelty and it's interesting. I feel like I don't have this burning desire to like learn more about what that DNA looks like. But if some of them reach out, I'll be curious. But I feel like I'm kind of a loner when it comes to family. It's like when I meet a distant cousin, it's like I'm there like meeting a stranger. It's just like I think
agree with
some people
that.
feel this like, oh my God, you're my long lost cousin. It's so amazing to see you. I'm like, I could be having coffee with like a random person I bumped into at a store.
Yeah, I think a sibling, though, is different than a long lost cousin.
This is true.
You with the different hat on, essentially.
Yeah, I know. I still don't care that much.
Yeah.
It's like, unless I grew up with you, I'm curious, but I'm not highly motivated.
The biological connection doesn't matter to you.
I put more focus on even like a really good friendship with someone. It's more about like those connections as opposed to biology, maybe. This all might change when I find out that I have 30 like half siblings.
Children.
Or children.
Yeah. I do find the whole nature versus nurture interesting. I don't think it would be earth-shattering to me to find out that I have siblings and that I like to know who I am. I need to go meet all of these people. But I would find it interesting. Like, it would feel like all these little parallel universes that exist in the real world. Because even with like my kids, seeing things like ticks of Calvin's that are like, I remember doing that.
Well, I get that, like looking at the way my granddad or my dad have certain mannerisms as I get older.
Yeah.
I recognize that more. So, oh no, I'm doing that thing that I truly didn't like.
But part of that could also be nurture still.
Oh, 100%.
How I'm raising my kids is obviously influenced on how my parents raised me. And I don't know if it's like just biological that he's this way, or it's because I'm doing the same things my parents did. And when it's weird ticks, it feels more genetic.
Completely. Or yeah, what Sheena was talking about just the way she was like standing, like hands on hip, and like the way the head was like, it's a trip to think about this stuff.
I guess that would be more my intrigue of it if I found out I had a bunch of siblings.
So you'd look for them? You would, or be open to it?
I wouldn't like change my life to go.
Yeah, they're not moving into your house. Just
no, but I think it would be interesting to observe and meet these people and see.
Because we just had such a pleasant experience and a pleasant story, I think we should tick off some of the freaky ones. This is a piece from 2023. A sperm donor who fathered 550 children ordered to stop. Of course, not in America, else he wouldn't have been ordered to stop. It was in the Netherlands. A Dutchman suspected of fathering more than 550 children worldwide through sperm donations has been ordered to stop. Jonathan, age 41, was fined more than 100,000 euros. Yeah, and the sperm donor clinic has been ordered to annihilate his sperm.
They've got pictures of him up.
Yeah, never again.
Do not accept sperm.
Because I guess the risk as well is if you're generating too many kids, that those kids won't know and they'll go and hook up, and then you get some sort of some bad DNA situations going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
Inbreeding.
the main argument for a lot of this when people are concerned with having too many.
Limit things a little bit.
And then having to trust the system that is tracking appropriately, but it's not like there's a registration when you start dating someone.
Exactly. And yeah, America, the database here is pretty much, it's not reliable.
Well, and 23andMe is gone now. They filed for bankruptcy.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Have they shut down?
There was news that they were going to sell the company. So there was this movement. I deleted all my data from it.
Oh, so you went on there? You're on 23andMe? You submitted?
I was on 23andMe.
Oh, did you find, holy hell, did you find anyone interesting?
No.
No. I'm sorry. Nothing.
I didn't find any half siblings or anything.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, they recently filed for bankruptcy.
Oh, I had no idea. I just assumed they were this hugely successful, giant money-making operation.
No, and I think the fear too was that it was going to sell to someone that was going to then use all this data.
Like a Facebook on crack. Insane data on everyone. Also, everyone bailed and deleted their stuff.
There was a push of hey, if you're on here, they're maybe selling, and you maybe shouldn't trust who it's going to go to.
So you took all your stuff, you deleted your account.
Yeah, there was a way to delete your data and be removed.
Now, the headline, lawsuit alleges ex-Harvard Medical School professor used his own sperm to secretly impregnate a patient. You hear these stories a lot.
Yeah.
That was in Boston. A former professor at Harvard Medical School and founder of one of the nation's largest fertility clinics is accused of secretly impregnating a patient in 1980. And of course, then there is the case of Donald Klein. I think there's a Netflix documentary about him, but he was an American doctor of gynecology, and he was convicted because between 1974 and 1987, he fathered over 90 children without disclosing himself as the donor to patients. So he did some sperm swappy.
Yeah,
and that's an interesting mentality.
Gray area.
It's pretty gray.
I mean, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, and I think that's where you get into these sort of stereotypical stories of the types of people donating sperm and this idea of fooling someone. And having to have a million offspring.
Yeah, having these spawns to carry on your legacy. And
yeah, Nate wasn't donating sperm as a college kid to be oh my God, I must have 80 children.
Mm-hmm.
That was a complete fluke and the decision of the clinic who didn't tell him they were going to do that.
Well, yeah. And I mean, there's maybe people doing it that are oh, my sperm, I need to pass on my genetics because it's superior.
And then, you start thinking about people like Elon Musk who have that kind of mentality where they are trying to spread their sperm as much as possible, not via donation, but just by having a lot of kids.
What's the deal with him? And
that's a big question. What's the deal with Musk?
Isn't there also something weird with Elon Musk and asking people to take his sperm?
I am just Googling this now, and yeah, okay. And there was some reporting out of the New York Times that claimed Elon offered to donate his sperm to Nicole Shanahan, a high-powered Silicon Valley attorney. So yeah, he's also putting a sperm out there.
He's one of those people trying to just spread his genetics.
Yeah. I mean, he's obsessed with living forever, right, himself. And I guess it's that whole idea of legacy as well. And if he can't upload his brain to the internet through Neuralink, then hey, maybe having 50 kids will be kind of living forever.
Yeah, or just compatible.
I don't want to be in his brain. Imagine being in his brain. I mean, it'd be great having all that money. Actually, not really. But imagine having to live in that head.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Okay, so Sheena and Nate, thank you for talking to me for this episode. You guys were great. We're getting a lot of feedback about the last blockbuster
Apparently, you could rent game consoles from Blockbuster. I don't think my local one
They didn't do it.
did it,
Right.
or my parents wouldn't let us.
They didn't tell you about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it was like certainly much more expensive than renting a VHS or a DVD. But you could take a console home. I guess you could do that at Blockbuster.
Apparently.
Okay.
I heard quite a few comments of people telling me I was wrong about that part.
One good thing about having a podcast is when you do say something wrong, people will, and our listeners are actually
Immediately tell
like
you.
quite polite about it,
Yeah,
which is
they are.
nice. But yeah, you definitely learn along the way. A lot of people wrote in about a great podcast episode, which I just listened to. There's a podcast called Hyperfixed. And there was an episode called Parker's Obsession with This Movie, but she cannot find it anywhere. And basically every episode they solve a listener's problem. But it was about this idea that someone had seen a film in their youth and it was no longer anywhere to be found. And basically, the reason a lot of films disappear completely is basically over like a very boring, like they didn't license a song for long enough or something. And that's often why stuff gets pulled off a streaming service. And also with some films, they never even put on a disc. And so when they disappear, they disappear. But point being, if you really like a film, make sure you have a physical copy, because if the people making it didn't get the right rights, then it could all get pulled off because some song wasn't licensed for long enough.
That's why you bought Armageddon.
That's why I bought Armageddon.
Big Aerosmith fan.
Okay. I heard from Caleb, and I found this just a very small worldy kind of an email. I actually worked in the Video Easy in Bethlehem that was your local, David. So just to clarify, Video Easy was New Zealand's other big chain. Bethlehem was in New Zealand, not the other Bethlehem.
Not the town you were born, though.
But not the town I was born in, but I went to high school there.
And you claimed you were born there for
Other
most of your
people
life?
claimed I was born there,
You
and I just didn't correct
them.
them for
Yeah,
a
okay.
while. I wasn't openly misleading people. Anyway, and that's the Video Easy that I wanted to work in, but Julia Moore took the job instead, which I've always been furious about.
Julianne Moore.
Not Julia Moore. Okay, so they said it was the best job I ever had, honestly. Better than my stint at the cinema in Mount Maunganui. The store provided a hub for community connection in many ways that doesn't really exist anymore. I remember the satisfying click of DVDs going back in the case and the quick snap of the locks that would slide to keep the cases locked away. Streaming just doesn't hit the same, and I think we lost something when these stores closed down. Thanks for the trip down memory lane. Given that I'm 42 this year, I no doubt served you many a time, David. No erotic DVDs, I'm sure. Winking face. I didn't get any erotic DVDs.
Does reading that make you jealous that you
Oh,
didn't get
very.
that job?
No, that's what I wanted.
Or resentful?
Like, oh my God, like Caleb had my dream job, and not only that, but it actually was a dream job.
But maybe your drive to get into movie making wouldn't have been the same if you were satiated at the
If
at
I
the
wasn't fueled
rental
with that
place.
passion of
Yeah.
like needing to do something in that space. Morgan wrote in, I live on a remote island in Alaska. The fishing town I live in is called Sitka. It's bigger than a village, but only 8,000 people and 13 miles of road. There's not a whole lot going on. Our underwater internet cable was damaged. I just love these stories are so specific.
It's crazy that people there are listening
I'm
to
listening
this.
to this. No, this brings me so much, like this makes everything worthwhile. Our underwater internet cable was damaged by a boat anchor and the whole town was out of the internet for a very long time. It was wild. I was so thankful to have a ton of DVDs with me for me and my husband and child. The town was out of internet for 2 weeks. It was crazy. Morgan, the end of the story. Ended abruptly. Point is, without those DVDs, would have been very bored. Amy, hey David and Rob, big fan, loved the Blockbuster epi. I worked for my locally owned video rental store when I was in high school. You are 100% correct about the smell. Maybe it's different to the Blockbuster smell, but at all video stores owned by this family in my city, they all smelled the same. So plastic videos and the carpet. We also had an adult room behind a door. As a young adult, I was mortified to go in there to return videos to the shelves. I was even more mortified to see friends of my parents and men from their church come in on their lunch breaks and rent 4 pornos and then return them an hour later.
Yikes.
Christina wrote in with the subject line Colombian film piracy. Loved reminiscing about Blockbuster. Listening along, I was reminded of how the rental DVD market evolved in Colombia. Anti-piracy and copyright laws are pretty much non-existent and unenforced here in the mid-2000s. And as DVD began to take over, VHS piracy was thriving. Pirated DVD stores began to emerge. There are a couple near my house with beautiful storefronts and layouts. It was obvious all movies were illegally obtained, but it was just so much cheaper. One of the main reasons for Blockbuster's demise in Colombia was actually this black market. Streaming culture arrived much later. But I just really like that they made the stores look official.
Yeah.
Like made them look slick. It wasn't like selling them like on a pavement.
Yeah.
It was like an official looking store. Looking back, it's wild how these illegal stores openly operated and actually thrived. She said there's actually now a cottage industry of illegal streaming platform access. People openly publicize these services on the streets. You pretty much pay a random guy a small fare and they grant you access to any streaming platform you want. So yeah, go Colombia when it comes to piracy. Not that I'm encouraging piracy, but it's always like, I know something about piracy does, the thing I like about it is it is access for everyone.
Yeah.
I'll always like Pirate Bay for that reason. Like if someone can't find something I have on a platform, as well as saying Google it, I'll sometimes say, just go to Pirate Bay.
Pirate Bay, it's still a thing.
It's still a thing. People are still torrenting. Yeah, it's still a thing. And it's great that streaming offers a legal way to do it.
Yeah.
And you should do that if it's an option. But like, I do like that Pirate Bay is still sitting there.
Yeah, I mean, access for everyone is a good thing.
Yeah, and it should, if something is dropped off DVD or is not sold anywhere, then you probably will find it on a torrent.
I mean, that's why we podcast for free.
That's why we podcast for free. Laura wrote in saying Blockbuster's nostalgia hit hard. I had to write in, skipping DVDs was the worst. I remember at a church youth group event when I was 13, we watched Passion of the Christ. Have you watched that?
I saw that in theaters.
You know Mel Gibson's making a sequel now? Passion of the Christ Part 2? I'm not joking.
What's he covering in this one?
I'm deeply curious about it. I will say, Passion of the Christ is weirdly like an amazing film.
Yeah,
I really like that movie.
Yeah,
it was really full on.
Yeah.
Okay, so youth group watching Passion of the Christ. The DVD skips so bad all through the most brutal part of Jesus being beaten to a pulp. It was very awkward and scarring. Anyway, when playing DVDs or PlayStation 1 games, you could temporarily fix a scratched CD by rubbing toothpaste all over them and then wiping off gently.
I do remember that trick.
I didn't know about this.
Yeah.
She thinks it filled in some cracks and apparently it worked. Thank you, Laura, who is a Kiwi currently marooned in Australia. Okay, Mitch. They worked at Video Easy in Australia. The first DVDs we had were Matrix and Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me. 2 great films. We all know why VHS beat out Betamax as the standard format, even though Betamax is a superior quality. It's because porn came out on VHS, which is true. You often find that like porn leads the way in what technology wins. So if porn does well on a certain platform, it will be the platform that endures.
I mean, I guess it's internet and streaming.
Totally. On that note, one of the most enjoyable parts of working at the video shop was watching how different people dealt with hiring adult films. Cringeworthy situations that you can't look away from. My favorite porno customer would be the guy, it's always guys, never girls, who would grab a pile of any old weekly film to pile on top and hide the adult films at the bottom. Unfortunately for them, when you scan them, the top of the pile becomes the bottom, and the bottom ones ends up on the top for all to see. The weirdest one was this guy who came in late on most nights right before we'd close and pick one adult movie to rent. He'd then return it in the after hours return shoot. He'd come in the next night and do it all over again, never missed a beat, so to speak. One night, he'd made his selection and came up to me at the counter, and I scanned his card to see a message pop up on the counter, which read, in all caps, "Do not allow this man to hire adult films. He has requested this himself and doesn't want us to let him hire them anymore."
Did you call it hiring them?
Yeah,
Not renting.
hiring. Yeah,
You
yeah.
said hiring instead of renting?
We would say renting as well, but it's not. So hiring is a term you just would never
No,
associate.
I've never.
Oh, that's so,
heard
that is an
for-
interesting thing. No, so we hire, you go and hire a car,
I've heard hire a car.
hire a
yeah.
trailer, hire a DVD.
I hire a car if it's like hire a driver.
So what
But
does hire
not-
mean to you? Like you wouldn't hire an item?
Hire is like an employee. You hire an employee, but yeah, not an item.
Oh, that's wild. Yeah. So any Americans confused right now? Whenever I say hire, I mean renting.
You just the word renting was not in your vernacular, or
We'd
it was,
rarely say it. Yeah, I mean, I might be unique in this, but I'm pretty sure it was hiring.
Yeah.
And finally, I'm quite happy with this one. There was the feedback to emo just keeps coming in thick and fast. That was such a good episode, Rob. But Alexandria wrote in. She said, "Hey guys, I finished the emo music episode a couple of days ago and haven't been able to stop cringing since. It felt like the episode was made as some humiliation ritual for me. I love the episode, don't get me wrong, but in 2007, when I turned 18, I got my first tattoo and it was of a Spill Canvas lyric. Now at 35, I just had to recently Google the band name to remember where it came from. Past lives aside, the real reason for the cringe is because between the music talk and Rob talking about designing merch t-shirts, I kept reliving one of my most cringe-worthy moments. I went to a Dashboard Confessional show in 2007 and hung around after the show. Snuck through some gates and was able to meet frontman Chris. Any emo girl's dream man at the time. Except the only thing I said to him was, I wanted to buy a t-shirt, but I didn't like any of them. Will you have better t-shirts soon?
she negged him.
She basically negged him, which is amazing. It is funny what spills out of your mouth
Yeah,
sometimes when you're trying to just say something normal.
And you're trying to impress the person.
Mortifying. I have actually thought about this moment probably monthly in the almost 2 decades since it happened. Also, I never did get a merch shirt, which to be fair, I did not deserve. Anyway, Alexandria, what happened? Shortly after you sent that email, Dashboard Confessional followed me on Instagram, and I just immediately screenshotted your email, and I sent it through to Dashboard Confessional, who replied, "Oh my God, that's amazing."
Yeah, Chris emailed me after the episode too.
So, Alex, Chris has seen your email. He says, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing." So take from that what you will.
There's no way he is remembering a fan say that.
But I like that he now knows the story.
No, it's great that he knows the story,
Yeah.
but any fear that she has that he was resentful of a fan that said that about their merch, definitely did not.
It'll be out in the wash.
Yes.
Yeah. You don't need to think about it anymore. You can have some peace in your heart.
Yes.
And he's now seen your memory and has given him a nice little laugh and a memory. So thanks for that. If you have any feedback for this episode or any episodes, what's our email, Rob?
Flightlessbirdchat@gmail.com.
Such a friendly sounding email.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first email address, what it was? Like Slutsayer66 or something. You must have had something.
I mean, yeah, I had screen names were more
What's your screen name?
what it was. I had emo music related. The Academy Rocker.
It's good.
This was a screen
That's
name for
cool.
a while.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
All right, we have good news
We
about
do.
another live show.
We do.
This time in my hometown,
Chicago. A place that I've never been. And I'm deeply excited for you to give me a tour.
Yeah, we're going to hopefully spend a few days before, but July 10th at Park West in
If
Chicago.
you have any amazing ideas or insights for possible guests or things you want me to look into, flightlessbirdchat@gmail.com. Otherwise, yeah, keep an eye out for tickets because we will want you to come.
All right, in relation to the recent news about the Pope being from Chicago,
Yes, big news for you. Proud a day for you.
we have to talk about Malort. You know about Malort?
Vaguely, I've heard it mentioned. I feel it's something awful. No, John Oliver had it on
Yes.
his show. The same episode that he talked about Focus on the Family.
Yes.
Which is kind of incredible, and how awful it is, which is one of our older episodes. But no, it's a terrible drink that you have in your city.
Yes.
That's the gist?
Yeah, so the lore of Malort, it's kind of a rite of passage in Chicago.
Okay.
Where it's kind of like a hazing, but everyone, I think, kind of likes it too.
Right.
And I don't know how apocryphal this story is, but my understanding of Malort, which we'll see how much I get corrected from it.
Okay, you've got some.
I brought you a bottle. I no longer drink.
I noticed that a lot of it is gone.
I no longer drink. So this is just going to be you partaking in this. But from what I've heard, this survived prohibition in Chicago. Because it was so bad that they assumed it was medicinal.
Incredible lore.
Yeah, whether that's true or not.
Wait, can I smell it?
Yeah, you should smell it now.
Also, it says on the back, has the aroma and full-bodied flavor of an unusual botanical.
It's Jepson's Malort. Like, they get it.
Yeah, it's an official drink. It's like a branded. This is like one brand you can get of this thing.
Or but it's just Jepson's Malort. They have it at bars. There's like our going away party in Chicago was at a Malort bar.
Yeah, it does take. It's like medicine.
Yes,
or like something that you use to like anesthetize.
So it's a known thing.
So wait, just let me get this straight. I feel like this is what you're at the bar at 1 a.m. You're about to go home or maybe go to another bar and someone there's like, get us around a Malort. And you're all sort of getting on one. Is that kind of the vibe?
Like, I remember being back when the Cubs won the World Series. We were at a bar watching the game. And me and two of my friends walk up to the bar. And the bartender's like, I know what that look is. And he grabbed the Malort.
You were
did
happy
a
or
shot
sad?
with us. I mean, it was like a...
I don't understand the sport reference.
I don't know either. But like... Maybe there was like a smirk or these guys aren't just going to order a beer.
My first shot of Malort. So just to know, my dream drink is a creamy cocktail. I'm like a child's, like a Bailey's, very smooth, very sweet. Smells awful. It does smell awful.
Yep.
Legitimately. Fucking hell. Yeah, no, it's pretty awful.
It goes down smooth though, right?
Yeah, I'm not burning. Yeah. It goes down, but
then it sticks in your throat.
I'm trying to think of something to compare it to. It's
my go-to is a mixture of body odor and bug spray.
That's horrific. But yeah, it's not great. And that's become iconic because everyone's just like, this is sort of awful.
I mean, I think it grows on you.
Thanks, Rob. 35%. 70 proof. Holy shit. Thank you for my first bit of Chicago. Is this going to like be a precursor to what my vibe in Chicago is going to be like? Just sort of like shock and terror?
I hope. I mean, people do really like to drink in Chicago, so.
Thank you so much. I'm curious, like if there are other like weird alcohols in America, let me know from your like weird little city. If you've got something, flightlessbirdchat@gmail.com. Thanks so much, Rob. I now feel
a little more Chicago.
Awful. Bye.